You have my lawyer's information. If you can't afford to retain a lawyer, since your lawyer that the number you gave us has not been retained yet, I told you I'll pay for it. If somebody over there that loves you wants to pay for it, great. That will make me happy. Everything is signed and ready to go. I don't want nothing. I'm not even asking for child support. My daughter's school, her babysitter, her nanny, her gymnastics, her swimming, her dancing, her healthcare, her all of that. I take care of it like I've always done. I don't need anything.
I just like to express this one thing. All these girls be like, thank you to my man. And I want to say, to my hands, thank you to my hands. To my hands, thank you to my hands. Listen, for me knowing how to fight and me training hard, I make millions of dollars just from beating people up. So, to my hands, thank you to my hands. To my hands, thank you to my hands.
Claressa Shields made it clear that everything had already been arranged and there was no confusion about what needed to happen next. She stated that Papoose already had her lawyer's contact information. It wasn't hidden or difficult to reach. She went further, saying that if he couldn't afford legal representation, she would handle that cost herself without hesitation. She also mentioned that if someone close to him, someone who genuinely cared about his well-being, wanted to step in and cover it instead, she would have no issue with that either. The message was clear. She was trying to keep things civil and steer the situation away from unnecessary conflict. She was equally direct with finances. She wants nothing from him. No child support, no financial contributions, nothing at all. She made it plain that she handles everything for her daughter entirely on her own: school, childcare, a nanny, gymnastics, swimming, dance, healthcare, and has been doing so from the very beginning. She has never looked to a man to carry those responsibilities, and she wanted that point understood without any ambiguity. Then her tone shifted into something more pointed. She said she thanks her own hands, and repeated it for emphasis. Everything she has built came from her own effort. Her income comes from fighting, training, and competing. That is the foundation she stands on, and she built it herself. But while the message of independence came through clearly, the fuller picture is more complicated than that framing suggests. People close to the situation say Claressa became deeply invested in a version of things with Papoose that may not have reflected reality. She moved as though everything was settled and secure, even with Remy Ma still very much in the picture. The two were seen together publicly on multiple occasions, and at one point Claressa openly referred to him as a cheat code to life, language that spoke to just how much she had placed in that relationship. Now the story has shifted direction entirely. The praise has been replaced with hints of betrayal. The suggestion now is that she was misled, while he may have never fully severed ties with his past. And that's where people began asking the harder question. Did she genuinely not see this coming, or is she now carefully reshaping the narrative to position herself as the one who was wronged? Because the signs were present from the beginning. Claressa had spoken openly about treating her man like a king, describing herself as submissive, and saying he took good care of her. At the same time, Papoose remained legally married to Remy Ma throughout, a fact that was never hidden and that many people pointed to as a reason to pause. Yet Claressa stayed vocal, kept praising him publicly, and continued trending alongside him as the two were regularly spotted at events, appearing close and unbothered by the questions surrounding them.
I'm in like a king. Don't ever get it messed up, baby. I may have the muscles and I may know how to fight, but I'm very submissive to my man because my man's a good man. And, he takes very good care of me.
Even when Remy Ma surfaced messages that raised serious questions about whether Papoose was actually supporting Claressa the way she had been presenting publicly, Claressa didn't slow down or reconsider her position. She dismissed it entirely, saying Remy was simply jealous and had never experienced that kind of love for herself. From that point forward, the conversation stopped being about boxing. It became an ongoing cycle of drama centered entirely around Papoose and Remy Ma. Claressa continued to speak openly about her feelings, saying his support felt unlike anything she had experienced in past relationships and that she loved him genuinely. She even said the two of them deserved each other, language that made clear she believed they were a natural fit and that what they had was real. Then came the Breakfast Club interview, and that's where the tension became impossible to ignore. Papoose had been booked to appear solo to promote his own project. Claressa came with him and stayed planted by his side throughout. Things remained relatively calm at the start until DJ Envy brought up Remy Ma's name. The moment that happened, the energy in the room shifted visibly. Claressa went from relaxed to guarded almost instantly. She pulled up a chair like she was positioning herself to handle whatever came next directly. She stepped in and took control of the conversation, saying the situation was old, that people needed to stop bringing it up, and that both sides had already moved past it. She added that Remy Ma had someone of her own too, implying that no one in the situation had a claim to the moral high ground. When the topic of being cordial came up, Claressa called the whole social media back and forth corny and made it clear she had no interest in engaging with it. What stood out most to people watching was how consistently she jumped into questions that were directed at Papoose, almost as though she was speaking on behalf of the marriage rather than as someone on the outside of it. Meanwhile, Papoose appeared visibly uncomfortable. His body language told a different story from hers, and it didn't go unnoticed. Shortly after, Claressa shifted into a different mode entirely. She posted a video outside carrying designer bags as though their price tag meant nothing, moving with the kind of ease that suggested it was all completely effortless. The message was deliberate. She doesn't need a man to buy her anything because she is more than capable of affording it herself. She leaned fully into that independent energy, speaking with a level of confidence that suggested no one had the standing to question her position. But that's exactly when people started watching more carefully and noticing things that didn't quite line up with the image being presented.
Love him. I love having his support, you know what I'm saying? His support is like very, very different from what I've had in the past, and how he speaks to me and stuff is very different. There you go. We deserve each other.
While Claressa was online, keeping up appearances, Remy Ma remained completely unbothered. No response, no social media activity, no engagement with any of it. That silence communicated more than any statement could have. Then the holidays made everything considerably clearer. Papoose spent Christmas with his wife and daughter, and that single fact said everything that needed to be said without a single word being spoken publicly. Claressa attempted to keep up a normal front by going live and showing off her Christmas setup, but people noticed the obvious almost immediately. Papoose wasn't there. He was with his family, and that reality shifted the entire narrative in a matter of hours. There was no post acknowledging her, no public shout-out, no mention of Claressa anywhere during the holiday period. People online picked up on that quickly, and the conversation moved fast. The focus landed squarely on where Papoose actually was and who he was with. When Claressa addressed it, she said he wasn't with Remy either, that he was with his mother and extended family, but most people weren't satisfied with that explanation and didn't accept it as the full picture. Then she referred to Remy Ma as his ex-wife, and the correction came swiftly from multiple directions online. They are still legally married. That detail hadn't changed, regardless of how the situation had been framed publicly. After that moment, the conversation took on a different shape entirely. People began saying that Claressa had become less focused on the relationship itself and more focused on proving she had been chosen over Remy. What had started as something personal was beginning to look like a pursuit of validation, and once that perception set in, it was difficult for anything she posted afterward to land the same way it once had.
Next year in September, we at the end of the year. Some of this stuff is just so old. You know, it's so old to talk about, to bring up, to keep harping on it. It's like they're separated. She got somebody too. Like, don't act like you're just over here. Like, she's happy we're happy, and that's it. Like, I don't know what
Is it
the big
cordial
deal
though? Is it cordial or you just?
It was corny. It's always corny to do social media shit. You know what I'm saying? Who wants that? Who wants to be a part of the circus? So I just felt like it was corny.
People were saying that the only way Claressa seemed to feel secure in her position was by trying to draw a reaction out of Remy Ma. But Remy never gave her one. She stayed completely unbothered through all of it, and that composure only seemed to intensify the frustration coming from the other side. Then things escalated further when viewers went back and rewatched one of Remy Ma's shopping videos. Some claimed they could hear a voice in the background that sounded like Papoose. That observation spread quickly, and people started connecting it to everything else that had been unfolding. If he was genuinely there with Remy during that outing, it began to offer an explanation for why Claressa had been reacting so intensely online. And for many people watching, it raised questions that went even deeper, particularly around who was actually funding what and what that might say about where his real priorities were while everything else played out publicly. Claressa moved quickly to push back on the narrative. She said Papoose had still come through for her during the holidays, that he had gotten her luxury gifts and was thinking about her the entire time. She described him coming through for his queen as though that framing alone should settle any doubts. To reinforce the point, she showed off a Louis Vuitton travel bag, talking about how she would even take it to the gym, hyping it up in a way that was clearly meant to signal that everything between them was still firmly in place. But for a lot of people watching, the energy behind that moment read less like confidence and more like someone working hard to convince an audience, and possibly herself, that the story had already changed.
I've been finding this for a long time now. Real shit. Like, naturally just fire. Just naturally just tea. It's like not even having to try. Put on a t-shirt, put on some jeans, put on some shoes, and I just been like eating them down.
People around her jumped in to support the moment, saying things like, "You see the love? He dropped the bag on her. This is real love," doing their best to frame it as evidence that everything was genuine and intact. But online, the reception was far less enthusiastic. People began pointing out that some of the same luxury items she was presenting as fresh holiday gifts had already been referenced by her previously. That inconsistency didn't go unnoticed, and it only added more fuel to the speculation already circulating. Rather than putting the questions to rest, the attempt to reframe the narrative seemed to create new ones. From there, the conversation shifted direction again. Some people felt she was working too hard to prove a point that should have been self-evident if things were truly solid as she claimed. Others took a more sympathetic view, believing she had genuinely become caught up in a situation that was far more complicated and unclear than she had initially understood. The discussion began gravitating toward the idea that she may have felt misled, that somewhere along the way, the reality of what she was involved in didn't match what she had been led to believe, especially given that Papoose remained legally married to Remy Ma throughout the entire public-facing relationship. Now, the wider conversation has moved to whether this situation is already in its final stages. Even when Claressa attempted to offer explanations, the internet didn't reset. People had been skeptical from the very beginning, questioning the speed at which things went public and the dynamic of moving from Remy Ma's marriage directly into Papoose's public life without any real distance between the two. The responses have been sharp and unrelenting, with people pulling apart every detail and questioning the foundation of everything that was presented. Whether this continues to play out publicly for a while longer or quietly collapses on its own timeline remains unclear. But the central question that keeps coming back is the same one it has always been. Was Claressa genuinely misled by someone who was never fully available? Or were the signs there from the very beginning and the choice was made to look past them anyway? That question hasn't been answered, and until it is, the conversation isn't going anywhere.